Alaikum and welcome back to the Mid Morning Talk Show this beautiful Wednesday morning, the 8th of March, the 28th of Ramadan. And yeah, our coming to the end of our Mubarak month. And inshallah, I hope everybody, all of us, have made the best of it. And as we feel sad, bidding goodbye to our beautiful month, inshallah, we make dua that we see another, and Allah grants us the blessings of of many more Ramadans together. So today we've got a very, very exciting lineup, and we're going to be starting with Farzanah Manjoo, who is an attorney and she specializes in intellectual property law. So we'll be discussing with her today. Our topic will be building a legal legacy, Farzanah Manjoo's journey in intellectual property law. So, just to quickly read her bio, Farzana is very experienced. She's been practicing law for more than 20 years, having been admitted to practice in 2005. Specifically, she's got 20 years of experience in IP, which is intellectual property, and has worked at one of the big five intellectual property law firms in South Africa. In 2017, she took the plunge and opened her own law boutique practice under Farzanah Manjoo Attorneys. Her practice specializes in the prosecution of both local and foreign trademark matters, and I'm sure she'll explain a little bit more about that. Also, she does general civil and commercial litigation, commercial contracts, debt collecting, estate planning, and wills and deceased estate. All very, very important aspects of the law and which pertain to us specifically as Muslims. So, to get started, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show, Farzana. How are you doing today?
Walaikum salam. Alhamdulillah. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So, before we get into the nitty gritty of all of that, I just want to get a little understanding of who you are today, Farzana, just to get an understanding. What attracted you to law in the first place? Why did you decide to become a lawyer and study in the legal field?
Um, so back then it was honestly, I did not want to do law.
Mm-hmm.
It was chosen for me,
Mm-hmm.
and as we know that whatever path you follow, it's all in Allah's plans. So
Absolutely, yeah.
this career was actually chosen for me, and I continued studying it, and then just started developing a passion for law. So alhamdulillah, it worked out well for me. I was actually going to be doing something completely different but alhamdulillah. We
Alhamdulillah.
plan and Allah plans.
And Allah
Allah is the
plans
greatest of
better.
planners. Yes.
And I'm so glad to hear that eventually the passion did grow and build for this, because I know that law can be quite daunting for many people, and maybe it's not something that you would have chosen for yourself, but it seems to have worked out better than you would have even imagined. So alhamdulillah, shukr for that. So to get quickly into just understanding a little bit about intellectual property, can you just give us a little background as to what that entails? Because I know you've had extensive experience in this, and specifically in trademark protection, and why this is so critical for business.
Okay, so intellectual property is basically creations of your mind. Rather than it's an intangible asset which is different from your movable assets, like your furniture and your household and your properties and things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more intangible. It is things that you cannot really see or physically hold on to. So it relates to creations of the mind. So whatever your mind creates, it forms part of intellectual property.
So, having heard that little bit of introduction, I imagine it's way more challenging to be able to hold on to that in a legal sense than it would be for, like, your physical property, because there you can have a title deed or your vehicle is registered to you. But here, this is just your thoughts. I'm trying to figure out how you would even go about that. So, how does that work?
So it's not without registration.
Mm-hmm.
We have very well-developed intellectual property laws in South Africa that's on par with international standards.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the Trademarks Act, we have the Patents Act, we have Copyright Act, various other acts relating to intellectual property, which allows one to protect this creation,
Mm-hmm.
and you end up with a registration certificate, which is the physical proof that you have that you are the owner of whatever trademark or patent or design that
Okay.
you have created for yourself or your business
Fantastic.
rather.
Okay, well, that's
So
good to know. And so tell me why specifically trademark protection is so critical for business.
you invest time, money, effort into developing your business or
Mm-hmm.
a product, and you apply you create a name for the business or product. Um, it's a matter of protecting yourself or protecting your business from someone else who likes the look and feel of it and then becomes a copycat
Mm-hmm.
and takes your trademark,
Mm-hmm.
for example. So it is very, very, very important in order to build your business legacy uh, or build a reputation and goodwill in your business and product to protect it. You go ahead, you obtain insurance for your house, for example,
Mm-hmm.
or you take insurance for your car, for example. This aspect of not protecting your name from get go, is, we fail to do. So it is as most important it is as important as obtaining insurance for
Mm.
your household or your car, whatever it is, or whatever else that you are doing.
Right.
So this aspect of not protecting your business name or your product or your invention, uh, we fall. And in today's time, um, in this day and age, intellectual property is very, very important.
I'm
It
sure.
forms a major part of your business legacy.
Mm. Okay. That's great to know. I mean, I would imagine that I'm a writer, and I'm just thinking how I would feel if somebody just took my ideas that I've written in my book and then went ahead and made it like it was their own.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it is very, very important to make sure you have your copyright in place, or in terms of intellectual property, your trademark protection for your business or whatever. So
Mm.
so that's a very, very important service that you are providing. So tell me, Fazana, you were working in what would be called one of the big five intellectual property law firms. And I imagine that gave you a lot of exposure and a lot of experience. But what motivated you to leave an established firm like that and start your own, what I would imagine is quite a niched boutique kind of a practice? And along the journey, and I'm sure it must have been quite a journey, can you tell us a little bit about what your challenges were along the way?
So I was, uh, so my motivation was, oh, sorry. So my motivation to leave being an employee
Mm-hmm.
to owning my own business was just that it was time for me to create something for myself.
Yes.
Time for me to ease off on the demands of being an employee and uh, uh, you know just 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 take or building a new challenge or meeting new challenges.
Yes.
And Alhamdulillah, I started my own practice at the end of 2017,
Yes.
and it's been an absolutely the best decision that I had made. It's given
Fantastic.
me freedom to take on challenging matters. It's given me freedom to live my life on my own terms.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that was my motivation actually.
Well, well done to you. I mean, it can be daunting, for people to start off on their own and move away from the comfort and the security of a steady paycheck every month. But well done to you,
Absolutely.
and I'm sure it will be inspiring to many of our listeners, especially our young women who are listening, that take the plunge and say bismillah, and inshallah everything will work out. Of course, I'm sure it's
Absolutely.
not without any challenges, but I mean that's part of the whole experience, is to
Yes.
deal with the challenges. I always say, when we're faced with challenges and we have to learn to deal with them, we can actually then realize how strong we really are, because we have to dig deep and find the resources that we need to solve the problems. And then we can, so it's actually great sometimes to have challenges, or to have things to have curveballs thrown at you, because then and only then can you actually figure out that how to work and maneuver and manipulate and deal with things, and all of that stands you in good stead. So it's all good experience. So alhamdulillah, that's great. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how small businesses tend to operate. Especially our small businesses in our communities.
Mm.
Sometimes they overlook the legal processes that are necessary to ensure that everything goes smoothly. So, what are the most common mistakes you see that small businesses, entrepreneurs, people who are starting out on their own, what are the mistakes that they make, and what should they be guarding against when venturing on their own?
Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to say this from the beginning, that they don't get their intellectual property sorted out, especially the trademark.
Mm-hmm.
So that is your first mistake, your first error when you're choosing the name of your business. Uh,
Mm.
be distinctive, be creative about it. Don't just take something and say yes, okay, I'm going ahead with um, with this name, and then a few months down the line, you receive a letter of demand saying, "Hey, guys, you are infringing on my client's trademark, and you have to change." Now you went through
Mm.
all that effort
Mm.
and spent all that money, and now you have to change your your name.
Mm-hmm.
So that is your first mistake when you are choosing your name. Please be very proactive about it
Mm-hmm.
and do the necessary searches. Contact your attorney if you don't know how to go ahead, how to deal with that. Then the other areas that I see mostly is that you enter into lease agreements and it's not favorable. There are no favorable terms for you,
Mm-hmm.
and when you run into problems, the landlord refuses to listen. By then it's too late. You've already signed. You just sign those contracts, and if a signed contract is um, binding.
Mm-hmm.
So then you can go to an attorney. Look, I have a problem. Now we are then expected to create the magic portal for the problem to disappear.
Mm.
So when you are faced with contracts, approach your attorney at word go. Ask them to review it, see if all the terms are favorable, if there's any room for negotiation
Mm.
prior to signing that document. Um, yeah, so that's the two major
Yeah. So
errors that I do see.
yeah, I mean, it makes sense. One would think it's right from the outset. The name of your business, how you identify the business. I mean that, and everything is attached to your name and your brand. As a business, that's what you're building. You're building your brand. You're building your trust. And yes, you're right. If you come up with any issues later on where people are saying, this is similar to my name, or it's infringing on then you're gonna lose all of that traction that you may have gained initially. So it's very, very important to consider that. Yeah,
100%.
so thank you for that input. I also want to work on to ask you a little bit about the various aspects of your practice, because I know you do a lot of commercial law, and then you also work on estate planning, as well as the IP issues that you're dealing
Mm-hmm.
with, the intellectual property deals that you're looking at. How do these different areas intersect? Do they intersect, first of all? How do they intersect? And how do you ensure that these work for your clients in building long-term security for them and making sure that their businesses, everything is secure and stable?
So yeah, so uh, they do at times interlink or what you can say. Yeah, so they do at times interlink with each other. Not all the time. So there are different. So even with your contract, with contractual law, for example, right? You have your terms relating to protection of your intellectual property in that. You have your confidential information clauses and whatnot. So it it also links to the intellectual property aspect of it. With wills and with decorating is something completely different. But yes, we do get to a point sometimes if the debtor has a registered trademark, we attach the trademark and have it auctioned off to realize the value of the debt.
Yeah.
So there are aspects of each category that are connected.
Yes, they
Um,
overlap.
yes, and then
Mm-hmm.
with wills, with deceased estates, annual will. So
Mm-hmm.
we often overlook your intellectual property as an asset. So what do you do with that? If there's a trademark in your personal name, for example, and you
Mm-hmm.
deceased, what happens to the trademark? You don't deal with it.
Yes.
We overlook these things.
Mm.
So when you're winding up the deceased estate as well, find out, are there any intellectual property that is owned by the deceased or part of the deceased company or whatever it is, and list it as an asset. Obviously, it needs to be evaluated. It's a brand valuation topic for another day. So that that trademark alone, the name alone,
Mm-hmm.
has more value than actual business, the business sale.
Okay.
So yeah, so these things are all interconnected in some way. Not all
Yes.
the time, like I say, but mostly these things are interconnected. And yeah, so those are the aspects. There is
Yeah.
anything, yeah,
Makes me realize that we all need a legal person or at least some kind of legal advice in our life. I mean, it's
yes,
something that we don't consider. But the fact of the matter is, we all have some assets. We all have assets, and we're all going to pass away at some point. And we need to
exactly.
we need to plan that. And I mean, even Islamically, we're obliged to ensure. There's a hadith that says a person is not meant to let two nights pass if he's got any asset in his name without ensuring that he's made a will or a plan for it for the future. So I think that's very important for us as Muslims also to consider. Okay, so it's almost time to wrap up with you, and it's been a very, very interesting conversation. But before that, I just want to ask you one last thing, specifically about drafting contracts. When you're trying to draft contracts, what are the first practical steps that a business person or any person who wants to draft a contract between two people, what should they be considering, and what are the steps that they should be taking?
Okay, so for me as an attorney, I would obviously have to have that consult and get all the information that is pertinent to the contract. What are the terms? What are the conditions? What is the basis of the contract? What are the two parties contracting for? All these things that will follow through in the contract. Um, and I I make a side note here. Please listen to your attorney when drafting the contract, because um, when they suggest important clauses added, don't argue, just leave it in. Because the time will come when that clause will be needed and you don't have it.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So rather
yes,
be safe than sorry and protect
sorry,
yourself from the outset.
yes. So it largely depends on the kind of contract that is going to be entered into between two parties. It can be for anything. It can be for the sale of a motor vehicle. It can be the sale of a property. It can be the sale of uh, an asset. It can be various things. So yeah, so it's or largely depends. The terms and conditions, it largely depends on what the contract is going to be about.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Farzanah. We really appreciate your input and your time this morning. Thank you so much. And I know we had to change our times around, and I appreciate that you were able to be on the line so quickly. So thank you so much
Um,
for that. Jazakallah
um,
khair, and thank you again to Farzanah. And we're gonna go on to a couple of ad breaks before we move on to our next guest today. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum.